Find somewhere dark and quiet. Put your headphones on. Listen like you're the one standing on the ridge. Tonight's story is called The Trail That Remembers. A single breath in the dark. A phone that pings in the same place again and again. Boots scraping rock, making the same turn over and over, until the sound becomes a loop you can't step out of. What if the path itself decided where you ended up?
Mara had been on this mountain longer than most of the volunteers who came for a weekend. She'd broken her back on switchbacks and rebuilt them. She knew the trail by the calluses on her palms and the way the wind leaned into the ridge at noon. There are places people call beautiful because they ask nothing of you. This trail was not one of them.
I grew up where you learn the rocks by name. Summers, I ran a crew, clearing brush, stacking cairns, fixing steps where the trail washed. People trust a trail. They trust the blazes, the maps, the little painted arrows. When that trust starts to wobble, you notice.
The first report came in as a simple, overdue hiker filing. A phone pinged the ridge at 9:14 a.m. GPS records later showed the same device tracing a perfect circle, 3/4-mile loops that began and ended at the exact same bend within a few meters. Not a wander, not a scramble, a loop, a turning back onto itself, as if the trail had rewritten the instructions. The device stayed powered. The battery didn't die. The last log entry was a photograph, a cairn, close-up, one stone balanced on the next, someone's thumb in the corner. Then nothing.
We combed the slope for prints. We found a boot, sitting at the lip of the switchback, facing the wrong direction. The laces were fresh, the tread new. No sign of a slide or animal. It looked placed, like someone had left it as a note. We chalked it up to prank at first. Then the second call came. Then the third.
The second hiker's track matched the first in a way that felt deliberate. Different phones, different makes, same geometry. Circles overlaying like ripples. Waypoints that had been set the night before showed up in different places come morning. A cairn moved 2 paces east. A painted blaze gone from a tree and reappearing on the opposite face. Small changes, precise, as if the land itself were editing the map while people slept. We started getting quiet reports from locals. The bend won't let you leave. They said it like it was a curse. I don't believe in curses. I believe in patterns. So I started keeping my own markers. Ribbons, reflectors, little flags. You can't argue with a ribbon, right? Those ribbons were the first real evidence that something was rearranging itself. Mara left flags spaced every 1/4 mile. She set up cameras on trees where volunteers had first reported odd light. The footage, when we looked at it, was odd in the way the wind looks odd on a still day. The flags were still one moment, and the next, tied to different saplings. Not blown, not cut, slid, as if the ground had offered them a new place to rest. On the cameras, we saw silhouettes walking the path at hours when no one was supposed to be there. Not people, shapes that matched human gait, but blurred at the edges, then resolved, then were gone. We cross-checked ranger logs and volunteer schedules. Nobody on duty, no authorized parties. It looked like the trail was keeping time with something else. Rumor fed rumor. Old-timers told of the bend, one steep curve 1/2 a mile from the summit, that, in winter, was said to feed back the sounds of the village at the bottom. Some called it memory, others called it grief. Mara called it a problem she could fix. She set a boundary. She said she would find out what happened when the map stopped making sense.
I didn't tell everyone I was staying. You can't have 20 people up there chasing a phantom. I brought a thermos, a spool of surveyor's tape, and 2 batteries for the trail camera. I set 3 cameras in a triangle that would give me raw angles into the bend. Then I waited.
Night on the ridge compresses everything. The wind goes from background to character. Your breath sounds like someone following you. Mara sat near the 4th cairn, feet bare on the cold rock, and listened. At around 2:10 a.m., the camera pinged, motion detected. When she reviewed the footage, the first frame showed nothing. The second frame showed a smear. The third showed the trail itself, an angled line of disturbed soil sliding a few inches to the left, like a page turning.
She went out to the bend in the dark to check the markers. The flags she'd placed were shifted. Her compass, which had been steady in her palm for years, began to wobble. It didn't spin wildly. It simply refused to settle. It trembled between 2 bearings and then leaned a hair toward the slope. Mara thought of wind, of errant magnets, of mechanical failure. None fit. The trail was shorter by a step here, longer by a step there. The geometry never violated physics. It violated trust.
I walked slow. I counted steps. I left stacked stones as I went. Small, obvious things. The next morning, some were gone. Others were stacked taller, like someone else had come and added to them. My camera had 1 night of footage missing. File corrupted, they said. But the audio track captured something. A low, repetitive scrape. The sound of boots that made the same turn, the same micropause, again and again. Can you hear it?
And then came the compulsion, not in the voice of a thing, but in the body. Hikers who were found, when they could speak, described the same ineffable pressure. I knew the right way, and then I knew the other. I felt my feet pick the wrong stone like they'd done it before. People called it disorientation, path dependency, a navigational error. Mara called it a loop she couldn't break. She chose to follow it deeper.
The journey to the bend that night is the part I will try to tell without undoing the cadence of it. Imagine the breath of a mountain on your neck. Imagine each step counting like a tick in a clock you are trying to stop. Mara moved faster. The trees leaned the same way. A distant rockfall. No, not a fall. A rearranging of stone sounded like a house settling. Her marker ribbons tugged slightly, as if threaded by invisible hands. Her chest tightened.
At one point, I heard laughter. Not human, not cruel, just a sound fitting the curve. I couldn't see anyone. The path in front of me pulsed forward and then folded back under my boots. I could feel a memory in the ground, like the weight of footsteps that were not mine. I kept moving because stopping felt like letting the trail win.
She came to the bend, and what she found was not monstrous in the way stories often promise. It was precise. A ring of flattened grass, years of tiny trampling laid into a shallow groove. Small items, unused ribbons, a child's mitten, a watch face with the hand stuck at 3:17, laid like offerings. And at the center, stones arranged not haphazardly, but into a simple seat, as if someone had always been expected to sit and remember.
Mara sat. She felt the trail press its weight into the back of her head. Memories she didn't know she had came up. Late returns to camp, the taste of lentil soup on a Navy summer, the exact cadence of a volunteer's laugh who'd been gone for 10 years. She could not tell if the memory belonged to the place or to people who had loved it hard enough that memory had pooled like water. When she stood, one of her flags was wrapped around her wrist. The camera recorded nothing for 10 minutes. Then a single frame captured her walking away alone.
When Mara returned to the town, the GPS files she handed us were a mess. Tracks that had been circles had new lines through them.
radials, like a compass rose. People interpreted it to mean she'd found the pattern and broken it. Others thought she had been changed. Mara wouldn't tell us what she saw in the center, only that it honored sorrow and habit both, and that some places keep what you leave behind.
Evidence after that was ambiguous. Markers wore differently. Cameras recorded birds that paused mid-flight. A volunteer's pack turned up months later, miles away, its zippers closed, its contents neatly folded. The town started to recalibrate how it sent people into the mountains. Day hikes only, buddy systems, extra check-ins. Mara stopped leading crews for a while. She fixed steps less often and watched the maps more.
Sometimes I still hear boots. I don't go up the bend anymore, but I walk the lower loops when spring comes, laying a hand on the old cairns. I think about the people who never knew how to turn away. I think about what we expect from the land, that it will be honest. It isn't always.
Weeks after Mara's night, someone hiking with a GPS watch posted an innocuous photo of the summit cairn. The caption was routine. When volunteers checked the image, there was one new stone on the highest pile, a stone smooth and dark, warm from somewhere else. Nobody admitted placing it. The watch in the photograph showed the time as 3:17. No one could say whether the bend had taken something, or was only keeping the things people dropped there until someone could come to retrieve them.
If you hike that mountain now, the maps have been updated. The park posts advisories. There are guidelines about traveling with others and staying on marked paths. But maps are answers we give each other. The trail asked a question instead. Whose footsteps count as a path? Whose memory becomes the map?
If this story stayed with you, share it with someone who listens in the dark. Subscribe so you never miss an episode. And a small caution from us. Do not try to test a trail's patience. Respect closures. Hike with others. If something feels wrong, leave the place to itself and bring your questions safely back to town.
If you're still here, it means the story followed you all the way to the end. Take a breath. Look around your room. Make sure everything is exactly where you left it. I'm Samnang. If this episode stayed with you, share it with someone who listens in the dark like you do. Until next time, keep your eyes open and your lights maybe not too bright. Good night.